fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message if you don't,
Well,
people don't like it?
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Huh, I guess Nintendo's entering their villain arc for the Switch 2? That is a bold move right there. We have a lot to discuss, but I have to wonder, there is no way those at the company right now are having a good time, especially after this past week. So, if you have been paying any attention when it comes to the Switch 2 Direct, pre-orders, game prices, and everything in between, then you know that Nintendo is in some hot water. And look, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should be buying the Switch 2 because everyone is going to be in a very different situation when it comes to this stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that Nintendo has kind of just let slip away. They have lost the messaging around this console. And this isn't like back when we saw things with like the N64, GameCube, or anything like that, where people are like, oh man, what the heck is this thing? You know, this is weird. There's no way this is going to do well. And then they go on to sell tons of copies and everything. We're in a very different situation right now, mostly due to simply financial reasons for a lot of people and just the state of the world right now compared to back then. So I think they've really let the messaging get away from the console itself, because just if you focus solely on that, then it actually looks pretty good. But the moment you step away, even an inch, oh man, things are out of control. It's crazy. I mean, heck, they only just recently released interviews about the pricing for the console. No Hall effects on their Joy-Cons, aka stick drift is definitely very possible still. Variable pricing, as they like to call it, on games going forward. And what could be a big slap to the face with this particular quote right here: some people may not be able to afford the Switch 2 price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platform available. Where have I seen quotes similar to that? Oh, I remember the PS3 and the Xbox One. So, Nintendo, I guess you're taking a leaf out of their book. The question is, though, those are obviously way back in the olden days, as some people like to call it. So, is this going to have the same effect that it had for PlayStation and Xbox? Or is this going to be a non-issue? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And it especially does not look good when you have Nintendo-focused channels calling them out on some of this stuff, including some of the big ones like Kit and Krista, sorry if I mispronounced those names, who actually worked at Nintendo for over 10 years. So they know how all this stuff is written. They even have a video up on their channel. Go check it out after this one right now, where they break down these interviews and the way that this stuff is spoken, because it's very PR, right? It's very, you can tell this went through hundreds of people to just be like, okay, make sure you say it exactly like this. And then they'll start to mention something after a question is asked about a particular topic, so aka price, and all of a sudden they direct you to the opposite side, and all of a sudden you're forgetting about it. That is what it is meant to do. And if you are not able to recognize that, then all of a sudden you're forgetting about that and everything. So go check out their video. That link will be down in the description below. But they have a lot of inside knowledge when it comes to this stuff, because again, they worked there for 10 plus years, and now they do their own thing. So it's got some cool insight that you should definitely check out. So yeah, safe to say things are not going the way Nintendo wanted to. So I want to break this down into basically 3 areas. I want to talk about the interviews from Doug Bowser, aka the president of Nintendo of America, Nate, the senior vice president, and others. We're not going to read the full articles or anything, but just simply kind of highlights and things like that. Again, all those articles will be linked down below. Go check them out and everything. So if you want to get the full context, go ahead and check those out. Then I want to go into reactions from gamers, people online, things like that. I'm not going to go into crazy toxic areas or anything. Just kind of what is the general thought and opinions of people, whether they do content creation, simply post things online, because at least I think for some of us, it is easier to tell when someone is trolling compared to when someone might be given a genuine, concern or thought or opinion or anything like that. And then there's obviously everything else in between. So we're going to take a look at that. And then the final thing I want to take a look at is simply, what does this mean for those who are kind of like the casual consumer? Because regardless of what we say online, making videos, everything in between, we are the minority. We are. And Nintendo might have actually made one of the biggest mistakes without even realizing it, or some did, but the higher ups simply ignored it. So let's get into it. First off, let's cover the interviews, okay? So first things first, if you don't know, the moment the Switch 2 Direct ended, up until Monday/Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world, it's currently Tuesday here in Japan, but it's Monday over in the West. Nintendo was pretty much dead silent on everything from pricing and how physical games worked and how those prices would be affected. What is going to be the difference between an $80 game and a $70 game, or is anything even going to be $60 anymore from first-party stuff? What about the digital games? What about the physical cartridges, but then they just simply have the code or you simply download it stuff from there? There's a ton of stuff that was being released, whether it was from news outlets or rumors or things being pulled up on pages from the official websites, and Nintendo was just radio silent the entire time until today, where we started to get some interviews. And this is where I think they dropped the ball. And it's been said across right now over the last 24 hours that Nintendo has felt pretty good the last 7 to 8 years when it comes to the success of the Switch and everything, and they are out of practice when it comes to things either blowing up in their face or simply blowing up online, or the messaging just getting jumbled everywhere. Because if they had been on top of this, regardless of what people might think of the console itself, the games, you name it, if they had come out and they were ready to tell us exactly what everything was, I think this could have gone a lot better for them. But let's take a look first here with Doug's interview. So first off, he talked about when it came to the $450 price points, and this apparently did not take into effect the latest round of all those tariffs that we're seeing from the US right now. This does not mean, though, that they did not account for the ones beforehand. I mean, heck, Nintendo moved over to Vietnam when it came to making the console and everything. So obviously not everything is there, but then Vietnam got slapped with like a 46% tariff, which is just, again, I'm really trying not to get into politics here, but guess what? It is entering every corner of everything now. So get used to hearing this kind of stuff is essentially what I'm going to say. But the $450 price, I think when it comes to that right there, just looking at that with the console and everything, we've actually seen just recently that there are some graphs showing off the power that the Switch 2 has. And obviously it's not as powerful as something like a PlayStation 5 Pro or a top-end PC. Like, oh duh, we already know that. But the thing is actually very powerful, especially when you compare it to the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. And overall, I think the pricing is not bad. I think people would have really loved for this thing to be only $400, but $450 is not a terrible asking price, especially when you realize that it can output 4K 60 on your TV finally. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of upscaling for certain games and everything like that. Like, this just comes with the territory of any gaming consoles. If you look at PS5 and Xbox Series X, like, very few games are running native 4K 60 FPS, no drops whatsoever. So just that in mind right there, okay? The second part is that this is a mobile device. You literally take it out of the dock, and I can play games up to 120 FPS on the screen at 1080p. And for a handheld, that's actually really good. Current handheld PC games, they only go up to about 900p or something like that, depending if you're on the Steam Deck OLED, or if you're on the Asus ROG or anything like that. So Nintendo's got a leg up on that stuff. Now, obviously, some people are going to start to compare, you know, things like, well, on those devices, I have Steam. On these other devices, I only have Nintendo games. Again, that's for each individual person and consumer to decide what is best for them. I'm just simply stating what is there and everything. So Doug in the interview was like, okay, $450 we think is a good price for our consumers. And overall, even looking online and everything, which we'll get into a little bit later, seems to be people are either like, okay, you know what, it's a little expensive, but overall not terrible or anything. And don't worry, we're going to get into game prices again down in the online section of this. But then continuing on from the console price itself, he goes straight into the game price. And more particularly, he focuses on Mario Kart World, saying the reason that it's worth $80 is due to having so much available. Yet if you actually look at previews and everything, a lot of that really hasn't been shown off. And I get the feeling that's mostly what the Mario Kart World Direct is supposed to be for on April 17th. However, is this really the time to be hiding stuff? This is not a story game where spoilers could potentially just get people from not even buying it. This is Mario Kart. We know what Mario Kart is. Show us the modes, show us what this open world is all about and everything. Otherwise, it's going to look super empty and people are going to be like, yeah, I don't think that's worth $80. That's just what it is. So what you are currently showing right now, even to casuals, even to the kids who watch nothing but the Nintendo channel and that's it, they might look at this and say, yeah, that's just more Mario Kart. I'm all for it. And then the parents look at it and be like, which again, we'll get into that casual stuff in the third part of the video. Okay, so finishing up some of the quotes though here. A big term you might be seeing around online, especially in these interviews, is something called variable pricing, which, oh God, that is the most CEO, president, like just corporation speak term I've ever heard, I think, in quite a few days here. So here's one of the big quotes you might be seeing around on the internet right now. What you see right here is called variable pricing. We'll look at each game, really look at the development that's gone into the game, the depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time, and the repeatability of gameplay experiences. Those are all factors, and there's many more to go into consideration of what is the right price point for the game. But I think you can anticipate there will be variable pricing, and we haven't set a benchmark. Okay, so first off with this is very like Japan speak when it comes to Nintendo, because Japan, compared to what you might see in something like the US, they don't have like a set price for like a majority of games that they go to as quote unquote the highest price, and then if you want to, you can technically lower it if you want to. Certain games and certain genres over here in Japan can actually be more expensive than what you might find in other areas. So for example, if I walked into the store right now and I wanted to get a brand new copy, even if it's an HD remake of a Switch game or anything like that, it would probably be around 6,000 yen, which in a perfect world would be $60 essentially. However, there are things like JRPGs and other genres of games that can easily be 7,000, 8,000 yen, which would be $70 to $80. Again, I'm making this very simple. Obviously, I know the yen is super weak right now. That's the reason we have that Japanese version of the Switch 2, because they want to be able to get it to their customers here in Japan, because even though America is their biggest market, Japan is definitely a close second with how popular it is and everything. So just keep that in mind right there. So when I see variable pricing, face value, it's kind of like, I get it. I actually do get it. And in a perfect world, it would actually work out very well for both the business, the consumers, and everything. However, we do not live in a perfect world. We live in a world where companies have to make big number get bigger. That is it. End of discussion, essentially. And you know that a majority of publishers and games, and I'm not even talking Nintendo here, I'm talking Sony, Xbox, Activision, you name them. They are all going to start getting their prices up higher now. You think $70 is the base for all their games? Oh, no, 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 no. They are going to 80, potentially even 90. And I mean, some of us are still expecting something like GTA 6 to go to 100. They're spending $1 billion+ on that game. They're going to get their money's worth somehow. So just keep that in mind right there. Going on to some of the other stuff though, and again, I want to get all my thoughts and opinions out in the second part of this video. So that's why I'm just kind of skipping over the rest of the variable pricing for a bit. So I'll get back into the second. The other part to this is the fact that they are charging that welcome tour. You've probably seen the welcome tour drama, that little basically Astrobot-like thing where you're walking around on top of the Switch 2 just to show you how it works. It's downloadable only. Yeah, they're charging $10 for that. And a lot of people are like, why isn't this bundled? And if you've seen any people talking about it online or anything, then you know that they're trying to compare it to something like Wii Sports or the Astrobot's Playroom. Is Astrobot's Playroom free on the PlayStation 5? Like, you just download it and you get to play it, and it's really cool. Not only do they have mini games and everything, which I believe this welcome tour thing does actually have some mini games, but it hasn't been shown. Again, it's seen showing things Nintendo. They've only talked about, hey, walk on top of the Switch and everything. Astrobot had this as well, going through the different parts of the PS5 and everything. So that's something they have there. Or if you want to compare Nintendo to Nintendo, they had Wii Sports back in the day. However, the big difference is that with Wii Sports, Reggie, the old boss from back in the day, he pushed Nintendo Japan to combine that with the Wii. If you actually bought the Wii over here in Japan way back then, I wasn't living here back then, but this is what I've heard from my friends, you had to separately buy Wii Sports. Imagine if that had happened back in the States. I don't think the Wii would have done as well as it did. I really don't think it would have. So Nintendo, especially here in Japan, has this philosophy of like, whatever, you know, we've made something, we're going to charge it. We're not giving it away for free. And I get that on some level, but at the same time, for something like this, where across the board it's free, especially when you had the success of the Wii Sports with the Wii, this is not going to do well. I can tell you this right now. There's no way the majority of people are going to buy this. It's just not. It's not going to. So it's actually hurting your developers who made that, and a lot of people are not going to be able to see that really cool work with it and everything like that. The final thing when it came to some of the interviews and everything simply was the fact that there is going to be no Hall effect when it comes to the Joy-Cons. aka stick drift is a good possibility. I mean, we have to hope that they design these things from the ground up a little bit better than the old Switch controllers, but so yeah, don't be surprised if you get stick drift on your Joy-Cons and everything. And remember, those suckers now cost $90 to replace them, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so obviously that was just the very basic quotes and everything from those interviews. Again, if you want to check them all out, go check out the links down below. Go and read them all yourself if you want to get the full story and everything. Okay, moving on now to what is being said online. Very, very mixed. Now, I want to break this particular part into 3 sections: the console itself, the games, and everything else. Like I stated up above, when it comes to the price of the console itself, everyone has a very different situation, be it financial, maybe you've got a family and everything, regardless. But I think overall, the $450 selling point, it's not terrible. It could be a lot worse. We could see a $600 Switch 2, which, I mean, based on some of these tariffs, I wouldn't be surprised if some countries see that. America. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. They have already alluded to the fact that they are not dropping the price for the Switch 2, so just be ready with that. But overall, I would say it's not too bad. Is it a little high? Yes, people would have preferred 400, but what you're getting though, you're getting a system that is both portable, it does the same thing that the PS5 and the Xbox consoles do, obviously a little bit weaker in some areas, but overall, it's not too bad. Then you get to the game prices, and people are standing on this. It's like, part of it is just, it's fundamental. Like, I'm not paying $10 to do your welcome tour tech demo thing, essentially, when that should be included, regardless if it's just $10. No, that's still ridiculous. And again, when you have Nintendo focused console channels and others that have been there beforehand and they're now doing their own thing, saying, no, I'm not paying for this stuff, you know you've made an oops in Nintendo. Just own up to it. But we know you're not going to, because you're Nintendo. You're not going to. Not to mention the fact that I think when it comes to the game prices especially, Nintendo has always been kind of known as the system and the console and the games that are at a generally lower price because they don't have blooming budgets like you see currently with the PC games and other console games, essentially. So they have generally lower budgets with that, which means technically you can have some lower prices, especially because Nintendo games do not go on sale. And do not give me that, oh, I saw 5% off on Amazon on Black Friday. Seriously? Really? That's your standard? Like, come on. Stop it. Okay. So you have that going on. And again, the console has generally been a lot cheaper in some regards when it comes to the competition and everything. And so that's what Nintendo's always had for that. But when it comes to the game prices especially, not only did they go to the $70 with something like Donkey Kong, and we even saw that back with Tears of the Kingdom, they jumped over it to $80 for Mario Kart World. Because you know what? They saw the sales from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's like, yeah, we're just gonna make a new Mario Kart, and you're gonna buy it, and you're gonna like it. You'll complain all you want online, people are still gonna buy it. And they're probably true for the most part. I think a lot of people, especially if you get a Switch 2, you're gonna get the Mario Kart bundle, especially because it's a little bit of a discount right there. Or if you come in later, you're still gonna buy that stuff. The big question will be, and this will probably be answered in the Nintendo Direct or Mario Kart World, is there going to be free DLC, paid DLC? What's it going to look like? Because you know they're going to probably add like certain islands and other areas that you can go to. But the thing to keep in mind right here is that what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did extremely well, in my personal opinion, is all of that DLC that we got and everything, when it came to playing online, at least with all those like 6 batches of DLC tracks and everything that we got about a couple years ago, you can play those online without owning them. It's if you want to play it locally, you have to buy it. So I do wonder if Nintendo is going to do that. I'm guessing they will, but I'm not sure, because they did that again with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And the last thing you want to do is go back to the early 2000s where DLC split your player base when it came to online multiplayer games. Because let's be honest, the biggest thing with Mario Kart, people like to play it online with their friends and randoms and everything. So we'll wait and see what's going to happen right there. So prices are, obviously going up, and people are not liking that because, again, they are being very secretive of exactly what is in the game and what is making this $80. And that little interview with Doug, that doesn't do much. That, like, he's not convincing. He is very CEO, president, whatever type of speak you want to talk. That's all he did. It was very formulaic, and people don't like that, especially today. And then the final thing is just the fact of all of the other prices going up. $90 for the new Joy-Cons, $110 for the new dock, which granted, I do know it has like a fan and stuff in there, but it's not really giving it that much more power. You know, it does give it some more power because you literally plug the thing in, it overclocks it and all that kind of stuff. But overall, it's not that much more power. It's not making it super crazy powerful. It's not making it like a PS5 Pro level or anything. So that price, then you've got that stupid camera and everything. And it's just like, it feels like everything is just, they are nickeling and diming everything. And again, that even goes with the Welcome Tour demo. And it's just like Nintendo. And again, honestly, this is nothing new for Nintendo. If you have kept up with Nintendo stuff for over 10 years before the Switch, going back to the Wii U, the Wii, the 3DS, all that stuff, this is Nintendo. This is not shocking if you've been around for a while. This really shouldn't be. So again, when it comes to online, a lot of people are not happy about this. You got some defenders or just hardcore fans and everything, but overall, it's not a good look online. But like I said in the beginning of the video, we're the minority. Doesn't matter how many angry tweets and everything that you see online or videos that are made, we're the minority. You want to know who the majority is? Your casual gamer. Your mom and your dad picking up a console for their little son, Johnny. Grandma picking up a console or picking up a game for their grandson or granddaughter. They're the majority of the people. Ever since the Wii, they've been made to look like the family-friendly, casual console that anyone can buy and pick up. However, my biggest question, and I've seen a lot of people asking this as well lately, with the price of the console itself, the price of the games, and the price of all the other third-party, I call it third-party stuff, I know it's not technically third-party, but all the extra side stuff, right? The camera, the extra controller, all that stuff, that is going to look very expensive to a mom or a dad or a grandparent walking into a store, especially during hard economic times right now, regardless of where you are, and especially where our money does not go as far as it used to. I see some people always defending it's just $10 more, you know, gaming prices. Oh, back in the days, it cost this much with inflation and now it costs this much. That doesn't matter. And you want to know why? It's because the amount that our, call it dollar, yen, whatever it is, that money that we had back then went further than it does now. Not to mention the fact that wages, doesn't matter if it's a part-time job, full-time job, contract, you name it, they're stagnating. They've been this for increasing. Whereas everything else, it's going like this. And I know it's kind of opposite with the camera and everything if you saw that. But regardless, it's that those go up a lot faster and the wages, not so much. Tack on if you have a kid or two, if you have a family. Yeah, no, mom and dad are going to look at the Switch 2 and be like, but you already have a Switch. You have Mario Kart. So, no, we're not going to get it. That's a lot of money right there. No, it's not happening. And especially if you're in certain countries and then these tariffs make those prices go up even more. Oh, no. They're going to look at that like, haha, yeah, start saving your money there, little Bobby. And we'll do that right there. You know, you go ahead and buy it when you're ready. I'm not buying that for you. I'm sorry. This is way too expensive. And I think that could be the big mistake that I talked about when it came to the beginning of this video. That if the casual consumer of Nintendo consoles or games, and the majority of them look at these prices and look at the console itself and are like, can't afford that. I'm not going to buy it. And then they go off and Nintendo refuses to drop any prices or anything. That's going to hurt them in the long run. Yes, initially in the short run, you're going to have your diehard fans and everything. You're going to have your content creators, all that stuff. Try to get this console right from the get-go. But I wouldn't be surprised if things don't change for the better. It's going to hurt them in the long run, especially with those casuals and everything. Grandma's not going to go in and spend $500, $600, $700 on a game and a console that she's just like, what, it simply has a 2 on the end of it, right? And I'm not saying that this is going to be like Wii U levels of failures or anything like that, because obviously we've seen the PlayStation brand things go PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5. That's obviously worked for them. But with Nintendo, with the casuals, which is where they're mostly known for, that's a high asking price for a lot of those kind of gamers. So the big question will be, is this going to hurt them in the long run? Or have they considered that and we might see a price drop later on when the rest of the industry has not done a price drop in quite some time? Just keep that in mind right there. So obviously that was a lot to cover right there. Again, we didn't even go into every single word said in these interviews and everything. And I know people's emotions are ramping up. Overall, I am not trying to tell you that you should buy or shouldn't buy. It is your money to do what you want with it and where to spend it. You have to make that choice. but trying to give you as much information as possible is what I'm trying to do here as well. These prices are definitely high, and with the way the economic status is, whether you're in one country over another or just looking at the world and everything, prices are going to continue to go up regardless. Companies are going to company. They are not your friends. Please keep that in mind. What is going to happen in the future? It's hard to say. But for right now, everything's getting more expensive. And if you can't afford this right now, whatever your current situation is, don't buy it. The best thing you can do to try and send a message to them is to not buy their products. Again, the hardcore people are going to do it regardless right from the beginning. But if over time it does not go the way they want it to, they might officially back off. Others might finally see those price hikes on certain games. They're going to be like, yeah, let's do $80. And then like half a year later, they're like, oh crap, that was a bad move right there. Who knows? But you can speak with your wallet. That is the best thing you can do. But we'll just have to see how things go over time. My biggest question to you right now at this particular moment, what are your thoughts on all this? You going to buy a Switch 2? You going to buy the bundle? Mario Kart? Metroid Prime 4? I mean, heck, if I can get a Switch 2, at least I can play Metroid Prime 4 on my normal Switch. But everything else, I'd say after a year or so, they're going to drop the Switch. They're going to go straight to the Switch 2. I guarantee it. I know they're saying that they're going to support the Switch for longer. After a while, they're going to drop it. It's like anything. So, because the Switch to the Switch 2, that is a big jump, not only in power and everything, but we know already from interviews and everything that the Switch 2, when it comes to playing Switch 1 games, it's not on a hardware level. They're mostly doing it through some emulation. So, I'm just going to tell pretty fast what happens there. We'll have to wait and see. But if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below as always. And if you happen to be new to the channel, then subscribe and like the video. It helps us out a lot with the old algorithm there. And join us every Friday in the evening when we stream. Come talk about anything. Either we're playing a game that doesn't have anything to do with a particular topic, come and chat about stuff. And who knows, maybe your comment will end up in a video that we like to post later on. With all that being said, though, I'm Tallen with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much for joining me in the video. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Johnny.